God's chosen one, God's final decision. Now it's time you knew everything. Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered, why do I feel like I'm meant for something more, something I can't explain? Have you felt like the world is spinning around you, yet you're standing still, like a shadow passing through people, through rooms, through life? And when you close your eyes at night, does a quiet voice inside whisper, "This is not all there is"? If any of that struck a nerve, it's because you're not imagining it. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're not crazy. You've been marked. You've been watched. Not by people, but by the heavens. Let me tell you a story. Not one from the news, one that predates headlines. One that was written in the silence of eternity. There was a man, isolated, hunted, hated, not because of his evil, but because of his destiny. His name was Moses. Abandoned as a child, raised in a palace of foreign gods, then banished to the desert after a crime born of justice. For 40 years he wandered, forgotten by the world, but not by God. Because destiny never forgets its own. One ordinary day, while tending sheep in nothing but sand and silence, Moses turned and saw a bush burning, not with fire that consumes, but fire that awakens. The moment he turned aside, the voice of God thundered through the wilderness, "Take off your sandals. The place you are standing is holy ground," not because of the sand, but because God had chosen that moment to reveal that man's purpose. And I need to tell you something, chosen one. This is your burning bush moment. You thought this video found you by accident. There are no accidents in the realm of the called. The signs, the delays, the rejections, every single one was heaven moving you into position. You're not just watching this, you've been summoned. Pause, breathe, ask yourself this. What if everything you've suffered was not punishment, but preparation? What if the pain was the prophecy? And what if the silence was sacred? Because the heavens have just issued their final verdict about your life, and the next words you hear may change your future forever. You were never invisible. You've spent years questioning why your presence feels like it disappears in rooms where others shine effortlessly. You've walked into places where your voice had weight, but no one listened. You've given your heart to people who took without ever asking how you were really doing. You've fought private battles while smiling in public, and you've wondered deeply, painfully, God, do you even see me? I need to tell you, right now, as clearly as possible, He did. He always has. There is something holy about being hidden. The world sees hiddenness as rejection, but heaven uses it as refinement. When God calls someone to greatness, He often cloaks them in seasons of obscurity, not to punish them, but to protect them. You weren't being overlooked. You were being shielded. Shielded from early exposure that would have destroyed your spirit. Shielded from applause that would have inflated ego before identity. Shielded from platforms your character wasn't yet built to carry. That loneliness you felt, that quiet ache that echoed in the silence of your room at night, that wasn't abandonment. That was intimacy. Heaven's intimacy. Divine closeness without the noise of the world. Because when God begins a great work in someone, He does it in the dark. Think of David. Before he ever held a sword, he held a harp. Before he wore a crown, he wore a shepherd's cloak. Before anyone knew his name, heaven had already sung it. Out in the fields, when no one was watching, he killed lions and bears, not for fame, not for credit, but because God was training his hands for battles the palace had not yet seen. Everyone saw a boy with a sling. God saw a king with a legacy. And when the prophet came to anoint a new leader, David wasn't even invited to the meeting. His own father didn't see him, but heaven did. Because favor doesn't need the room's permission. Favor doesn't wait to be validated. Favor finds you. You've been carrying questions inside your spirit for so long, they've begun to feel like part of your identity. Why did they leave? Why didn't it work? Why did I have to start over again and again while others seem to glide through life without interruption? But I want you to consider this possibility, maybe for the first time. What if God was answering your prayers through your pain? What if every detour was actually divine? What if the very thing that broke you was heaven's way of building you? You've always sensed there was something different about you. Even as a child, you felt things more deeply than others. You saw patterns in people no one else noticed. You dreamed about things that hadn't yet happened. You felt energies shift in rooms. You knew when someone was lying, even when their words said the opposite. You could never fully explain it, but you knew, you just knew. And you questioned if that sensitivity was weakness. You tried to silence it, you tried to fit in. But here's the truth. You were never designed to blend in. You were born to stand out. That sensitivity, that spiritual discernment, that ache you feel for people you barely know, that's intercession. That fire in your belly when injustice occurs, that's prophetic wiring. Your soul was not made for casual existence. Your DNA carries destiny, and everything you've been through, the heartbreaks, the betrayals, the delays, they've all been carving capacity into your character. Your spiritual muscles have been stretched in silence so that when the volume gets turned up, you won't collapse under the weight of your calling. Let me ask you something. Have you ever considered that the pain you endured wasn't just about you? That maybe, just maybe, you were called to carry healing for a generation? That maybe the hell you survived is the map someone else will need to escape theirs? That your scars are not shame, they're sacred. They're stories. Their survival etched into your being as proof that light can shine through broken places. You are not random. You are not extra. You are not expendable. You are essential. The enemy tried to shut you down early because he saw what you carried. He knew if you ever discovered your true identity, hell's grip would loosen on everyone connected to you. So he attacked your confidence. He broke your heart. He scattered your circle. He delayed your progress. But he made one mistake. You didn't quit. And that's why you're here. Not just on this page, not just in this moment, but in this season of your life. You didn't give up, even when everything around you said you should have, even when the tears blurred your faith, even when the prayers felt unanswered. You held on. And now heaven is responding, not with noise, but with movement. Something is shifting around you even now. Doors you thought were locked forever are beginning to rattle. Conversations about you are happening in rooms your feet haven't entered yet. Alignments are forming. People are dreaming about meeting someone like you. And the very places you were rejected from, some will invite you back. Not because you need validation, but because God will prepare a table before you in the presence of those who dismissed you. This isn't about revenge. This is about revelation. Revelation of who you really are, of who you've always been. God's chosen one, heaven's investment, earth's answer. And no, your pain was never pointless. There's something I need to say to you now, something sacred, something raw, and I don't say it lightly because I know how deeply it will strike you. Your pain was never punishment. The sleepless nights, the heartbreaks that fractured your voice, the betrayals that still echo in your nervous system, the shame that crept in and made a home in your silence, none of it was random, none of it was wasted. Heaven has never allowed a wound without assigning a purpose to its scar. The problem is, no one tells you that while it's happening. They quote scriptures about joy, about peace, about victory, but they don't tell you what it feels like to sit in the ashes while everyone else posts about blessings. They don't tell you how hard it is to keep trusting God when your body is failing, your bank account is screaming, your friends are gone, and the only sound you hear in prayer is your own voice echoing back. They don't tell you that even the chosen bleed. But let me tell you something now that will unlock something buried deep in your spirit. You are not bleeding because you are cursed. You are bleeding because you are being prepared to carry power that most people could never handle. And power always comes with a price. Let's go back in time to the prison cell of a man who once had dreams, big dreams, divine dreams. Joseph, the dreamer, the favorite son, the one with a coat of many colors. He saw his future before it came, saw people bowing, harvests rising, kingdoms shifting. But the moment he spoke it out loud, the war began. His brothers, the ones who should have covered him, stripped him, threw him in a pit, and sold him as a slave. He went from favored to forgotten, from vision to dungeon. And he spent years locked in a place where people remembered his gifts but forgot his name. Now listen to me, because someone watching this knows what that feels like. You've been useful to others but invisible. You've helped build things that were never meant to include you. You've carried burdens for others who dropped yours at the first sign of discomfort. You've prophesied over people who never once asked how your soul was doing. But like Joseph, you kept showing up. You kept interpreting dreams while waiting for your own. You kept giving, even while being overlooked. And what you didn't know is this: heaven was keeping score the entire time. The pain you endured didn't diminish your destiny, it revealed it. The deeper the wound, the higher the calling. And when Joseph finally stood before Pharaoh, he didn't mention the pit. He didn't rehearse the injustice. He stepped into authority because pain had stripped away the need for permission. And you, chosen one, are being stripped too, not of dignity, but of dependence, not of purpose, but of pretense. You are being reduced to essence, and essence is what heaven breathes into destiny. I know you're tired. I know you've questioned whether any of it was worth it. But I want you to consider something holy. What if the very events that crushed you are the ones God will use to crown you? What if every no was setting you up for the one yes that changes everything? What if your name is being whispered in heaven right now, not as someone broken, but as someone born for breakthrough? Let me ask you something personal, not surface level, not churchy, something from the bone. When was the last time you asked God, not why me, but what now? Because at some point the questions must evolve, not because your pain is invalid, but because your purpose demands more than your pity. And I say this with compassion. You've been through too much to stay small. You've cried too many nights to stay quiet. You've survived too much hell to settle for half of heaven's promise. There is something in you that has not died. Even after all of this, it may be faint, it may be flickering, but it's there, that quiet voice inside that still believes, that still reaches, that still says, there's more. And I want you to know that's not just resilience, that's prophecy. That's the part of you that hell couldn't touch. That's the evidence that you are still chosen, that you were always chosen. God didn't abandon you in the fire, He met you in it. And when the smoke clears, people won't even recognize who you are, not because you're hiding, but because transformation has changed your very frequency. You won't speak from pain, but from power. You won't lead from wounds, but from wisdom. And you won't walk with fear, but with fire. Because once you realize that everything meant to break you was actually building you, nothing can stop you. Not doubt, not delay, not fear, not failure, not even your past. This is the truth that's been buried under your suffering. But today, I'm digging it out and placing it in your hands. You didn't survive by accident. You were preserved on purpose. And now that you've made it through the wilderness, the final decision has been made. Heaven is calling you forward, not in shame, but in strength. not as the victim, but as the vessel. And I need you to sit with that truth, because what comes next will demand your whole heart, and it will be worth every tear you've cried to get here. The divine pattern behind your delay. There comes a moment in every chosen one's life when time becomes the enemy, not because of its speed, but because of its silence. You wake up each morning wondering if this will be the day the breakthrough comes. You scroll past the lives of others and wonder, why not me? You do everything right, pray, give, serve, believe, and still heaven seems quiet. And over time, that silence can feel like a sentence. But I need to break something open for you right now. Your delay was never denial. It was divine design. I know that's hard to believe when the waiting has felt like a wilderness, but listen closely. God does not withhold to torment, He withholds to transform. And while you've been watching the clock, heaven has been watching your character. God is not a cruel puppeteer, He is a wise architect. He does not build blessings on shaky foundations. He strengthens what will carry the weight before He sends the weight. The waiting season wasn't just about holding you back, it was about breaking you free. From impatience, from pride, from fear, from the need for validation. It was about forming someone in secret that He could trust in public. You thought God was ignoring you. He was building you. And sometimes construction looks like chaos until the blueprint is fulfilled. Let me take you to the life of Abraham, the father of many nations, a man with a promise that didn't manifest until decades after it was spoken. He was given a word by God that his descendants would outnumber the stars, and yet he wandered through barren years when his body aged, when his hope thinned, when logic mocked his belief. But here's what makes Abraham chosen. He didn't let the silence cancel the word. He believed against hope. And when the promise finally came, it wasn't just about a child. It was about a covenant. Bram Yanyul Alebde Graes Gre Ma Aputanen. That's what your delay has been about, not a moment. A mantle, not a blessing, a bloodline, not applause, an assignment. And it's not just what you'll receive, it's what you'll carry. Legacy, impact, generational transformation. That's why it's taken so long, not because you were forgotten, but because you were chosen for more than just a quick miracle. I want you to pause right now and ask yourself this. What if God has been more interested in your preparation than your promotion? What if the doors that didn't open were never yours to walk through in the first place? What if the detours were deliverance in disguise? You see, chosen ones don't follow the timelines of the world. We move to the rhythm of heaven, and heaven's rhythm is rarely rushed. If you're honest, I know you've been tempted to settle, to shrink your dreams down to the size of your disappointment, to let your standards lower with your energy. But let this part shake you awake. Delayed dreams are not dead dreams, and God has a pattern of showing up late on purpose, so that when He moves, no one gets the credit but Him. Remember Lazarus, dead 4 days, wrapped in grave clothes. Mourners gathered, hope expired. Jesus didn't rush. He didn't panic. He showed up late. But when He arrived, He didn't apologize for the delay. He called life back into what everyone else had buried, and I believe with all my heart He's about to do the same for you. Areas you've grieved, the places you've quietly buried with a nod of resignation, the parts of you that believed it was too late. Hear me, chosen one. God is not bound by your clock. He's not intimidated by what looks expired. He specializes in resurrections. And resurrection isn't just about things coming back to life. It's about things returning with power, with purpose, with proof that heaven has the final say. So yes, you've waited, but you haven't wasted. Every second has been counted, every moment has been measured, and the decision has already been made in heaven. The only thing that's left is for you to align with it on earth. And that begins with a shift in your mind. You must let go of the timelines you've constructed, the deadlines you've imposed, the milestones you thought defined your worth. None of them can contain what God is doing. He's not late, he's strategic. He's setting the stage. And sometimes he allows the curtain to hang low, so that when it rises, the glory cannot be missed. This is not just a delay, it's the divine pause before the greatest unveiling of your life. Don't waste it doubting, use it preparing. Prepare your heart, prepare your environment, prepare your voice. Because when the trumpet sounds, and trust me, it will, it won't be time to practice, it will be time to perform. Chosen one, don't mislabel your season. What looks like stagnation is actually sanctification. What feels like silence is actually strategy. What has seemed like punishment is really preparation. And when the door finally opens, you'll walk through it with the kind of authority that only comes from having endured the fire without losing your faith. This is not the end of your waiting. It's the beginning of your rising. Heaven is not behind schedule. Heaven is preparing to move, and when it does, every second you thought was lost will be redeemed in ways that leave you breathless. The decision has already been made. Now it's your turn to decide whether you'll see the delay as defeat or as the doorway to destiny, because it's not coming, it's already here. The shift has begun, and soon the world will witness what heaven has known about you all along. The shift is happening, and you're the evidence. Something has shifted. It's subtle on the surface, but undeniable in your spirit. The air feels different. Your sensitivity to what used to feel normal has increased. You no longer find comfort in the distractions that once numbed the ache. Things that once entertained you now seem empty. Conversations that used to feel familiar now feel forced. And while the people around you continue moving through life like nothing's changed, deep down you know everything has. You feel like you're standing in a hallway between the old version of yourself and the one God is unveiling. And that ache in your chest isn't anxiety, it's divine tension. Heaven is pulling you into alignment while the world tries to keep you stuck in familiarity. But the shift has begun, and there's no going back. You can't unknow what your spirit already recognizes. You can't unsee the glimpses God has given you. You can't unfeel the weight of the mantle being placed on your shoulders. This is what it feels like when destiny begins to rise from the ashes of delay, disappointment, and defeat. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it's sacred, private. And yet, it demands a response. What you're sensing now is not hype, it's holy. The agitation in your soul is a sign that you're being summoned. God is stretching your spiritual senses, because where you're going, sight alone won't be enough. You'll need discernment. You'll need obedience. You'll need faith that doesn't require full understanding. And you'll need to stop second-guessing what heaven has already confirmed. The shift that's happening isn't just around you, it's in you. God is rewiring your mind to think differently, training your heart to beat with clarity and conviction, and teaching your spirit to recognize doors that can't be seen by the natural eye. You're not crazy. You're being calibrated. Remember Moses on the mountain. He didn't just go up for tablets of stone. He went up to be transformed, to see God, to carry the weight of a divine instruction. But what happened when he came down? He looked different, radiated different. People couldn't even look him in the eye without being overwhelmed by the glory. And yet, during that same mountaintop experience, others below were building idols. Because when heaven is silent, those without vision always return to what's comfortable. But you, chosen one, you're not down in the valley. You've been called higher. That's why your hunger has changed. That's why your atmosphere no longer fits. That's why you feel alone in rooms full of people. You're not broken. You're being elevated. And elevation always comes with separation. The problem is, we often pray for the next level, but resist the process that comes with it. We want to be anointed without being altered. We want favor without the furnace. But chosen ones don't get to skip the refining. Because when God sets you apart, He burns off anything that would contaminate the call. And right now, that's what He's doing. Quietly, carefully, completely. You're being separated from the ordinary so you can walk in the extraordinary. It's why the same words don't comfort you anymore. Why the same routines don't fulfill you. Why you cry without warning and wake up with fire in your bones. Because you're not who you were last year or even last month. You are being transformed, day by day, layer by layer. And it's not always pretty. It's not always easy. But it is always holy. You're not just experiencing spiritual growth. You're undergoing spiritual activation. Gifts are awakening, dreams are returning, prophetic insight is sharpening, and the clarity you've begged God for is beginning to break through the clouds of confusion. Don't ignore it. Don't push it away. Lean in, pay attention, because the same God who gave you vision is now giving you volume. This shift will cost you. It will cost comfort, convenience, and control. But what you gain in return cannot be compared. Peace that surpasses understanding, wisdom beyond your years, strength you didn't know you had, and most of all, identity. True, undeniable, unshakable identity. You are not who life tried to label you as. You are not what the trauma trained you to believe. You are not the mistakes you made along the way. You are a vessel, a warrior, a light bearer. You are heaven's response to darkness, and the shift that's happening is heaven's announcement that your time has come. But here's the truth. Shifts require participation. God is initiating the change, but He won't force you to step into it. That's your decision. Will you go back to what's comfortable, or will you walk forward into the unknown, trusting that if God brought you this far, He won't abandon you now? You don't need all the answers. You just need one word: yes. Yes to the refining. Yes to the discomfort. Yes to the calling. Yes to the silence. Yes to the shift. Because once you say yes, heaven moves, angels align, doors open, strength comes, and the very things that once terrified you become testimonies of your transformation. Chosen one, the shift is not coming, it's here. It's already happening in your mind, your body, your spirit. And while the world is still sleeping, heaven is watching, waiting, whispering. Will you move with it, or will you miss it? You've cried long enough. You've waited long enough. You've questioned long enough. Now is the time to rise, to shine, to step forward. The shift didn't start around you, it started in you. And you are the evidence that God still moves in power. Walk in it. You were never meant to fit in. There's a reason you've felt like a misfit your whole life. A reason why, no matter how hard you've tried to blend in, something inside you refused to let you settle. You walked into rooms and instantly sensed the tension, not because you were doing anything wrong, but because your presence disrupted the norm. You've always felt slightly out of rhythm with the people around you. You've laughed when others were silent. You've cried when others were numb. You've dreamed bigger, hurt deeper, sensed things others ignored. And all this time you've been asking yourself, what's wrong with you? When the real question should have been, what's right with you? The world will try to make you feel defective for being different. It will label your depth as too much, your discernment as dramatic, your silence as weakness. But chosen one, let this truth break something open inside you today. You were never meant to fit in because you were born to stand out. God didn't form you to mirror culture, He formed you to transform it. And that restlessness in your spirit, that unease you've been carrying, that's not dysfunction, that's divine calling. Look at every chosen one in Scripture. Not a single one of them fit in. Moses stuttered, David was overlooked, Esther was orphaned, Joseph was envied, Mary was shamed, Paul was hated, Jesus himself was rejected. Why? Because when heaven marks you, earth can't contain you. And when you carry something eternal, temporary systems won't recognize your value. The reason you've been misunderstood is because your language is different. You speak in vision, in hope, in prophecy. While others see problems, you see potential. While others settle, you search. While others are content with surface, you dive into the deep. And that depth has made you feel alone. But you are not alone. You are rare. And rare things are never meant to be common. God has always set apart what He intends to use powerfully. The oil was never poured on the crowd. It was poured on the one in the field, the one who was overlooked, the one who didn't match the mold. You are that one. You are the outlier that carries the answer. You are the exception that disrupts the rule. You are the unfamiliar sound in a world full of noise. And that difference is not something to hide, it's something to honor. You were not designed for mass approval, you were designed for divine assignment. So stop shrinking to fit into spaces that can't hold your calling. Stop apologizing for your anointing. Stop explaining your fire to people still playing with ashes. The people who left were not your loss. They were heaven's filter. The doors that closed weren't rejection, they were redirection. You weren't meant to be invited to every table because you were born to build your own. Do you know what happens when you finally accept that you were never meant to fit in? You stop seeking permission and start walking in power. You stop waiting to be noticed and start activating what's already within you. You begin to realize that the isolation was actually incubation. God wasn't punishing you. He was protecting the purity of your purpose. Because if you had been accepted too soon, you would have watered yourself down just to keep the peace. But peace that costs you your power is not peace. It's bondage. You're not crazy for feeling the shift. You're not broken for seeing beyond what others see. You're not arrogant for knowing there's something greater inside of you. That's not ego, that's awareness. And awareness is the first step to awakening. You can't awaken to your assignment and still live like you're average, and you're not. You never were. Chosen one, the time for dimming your light is over. You've spent too many years whispering when you were born to declare. You've spent too many nights asking God to make you smaller when heaven has already decided to expand your territory. You've tried to play it safe, to go unnoticed, to not stir the waters. But chosen ones don't walk on calm seas, they walk on storm. This journey you're on won't always be easy, but it will always be worth it. Because the world doesn't need more people who blend in, it needs people who blaze trails, people who carry presence, people who walk into dark rooms and don't wait for the light, they become it. That's you. And the sooner you stop trying to be accepted by those who were never assigned to you, the sooner your real tribe, your divine connections will begin to find you. Let this be the moment you release the need to be liked. Let this be the moment you stop begging for access to spaces that don't value your voice. Let this be the moment you stand up, not just in defiance of what tried to break you, but in full agreement with what God already decided about you. You are not average. You are not random. You are not a mistake. You are heaven's intentional design, crafted in the image of glory, infused with power, called by name. And your difference is your divine signature. You weren't meant to fit in. You were meant to shift atmospheres. You were meant to walk into rooms and change the temperature. You were meant to carry light so bright that it exposes what others tried to keep hidden. You are not inconvenient, you are convicting. You are not too much, you are exactly enough. So don't let the world define you. Don't let rejection shrink you. Don't let familiarity convince you that you're ordinary, because God never creates what He doesn't intend to use. And if you still have breath in your body, that means heaven is not finished revealing the masterpiece He started in you. You were never meant to fit in. You were always meant to lead. Now, rise. The war for your identity. There is a war going on, not outside you, but within. It's not a battle for your finances, your relationships, or even your future. It's a war for your identity. Because if the enemy can convince you that you are less than what God already called you to be, he doesn't need to chain your hands. Your mind will keep you bound. You see, before Satan ever attacked your purpose, he targeted your perception. He knows if he can distort how you see yourself, you'll never step into what God prepared for you. And this war has been quiet, internal, psychological, waged through lies, wounds, silence, and self-doubt. But today I came to tell you the war ends here. You have been walking with questions that no one sees, secret fears about whether you're truly enough, whether you're chosen or simply convenient, whether your past disqualifies your future. You've worn the mask of confidence while fighting insecurity in private. You've shown up for everyone else while wondering who would ever show up for you. You've learned to perform, to protect, to pretend. But chosen one, God never called who you pretended to be. He called the real you. This war over your identity didn't start with you. It started in the garden. When the serpent approached Eve, he didn't attack her with force. He attacked her with a question. Did God really say? That's always been the tactic. Seed doubt, twist truth, confuse the called. He knew if he could make her question the voice of God, the rest would unravel. And that same tactic has been working in your mind for years. Did God really choose you? Are you really called? Maybe you're too broken, too late, too flawed. But let me break that lie with this truth. God does not change his mind about who he calls. Romans 11:29 declares, "For the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable." That means what he placed in you before you were born has never expired. It was never about your performance. It was about your purpose. And even if you walked away from it, even if you forgot it, even if life tried to bury it, it's still alive. And today it's awakening. The enemy wants to reduce your identity to your mistakes, your labels, your losses. But heaven sees through a different lens. Heaven sees a warrior rising from the wreckage. Heaven sees a prophet still standing after the storm. Heaven sees royalty walking through rubble with fire in their eyes. And heaven's declaration over you has never changed. You are chosen, called, and sealed with purpose. You have to understand this. God never speaks to who you are now. He speaks to who he already knows you are becoming. When he called Gideon a mighty man of valor, Gideon was hiding in fear. When he anointed David as king, David was still tending sheep. When he chose Mary, she was just a teenage girl in a forgotten town. God doesn't wait for public approval before he calls private greatness. And right now, in this very moment, heaven is calling you out of who you've been pretending to be and back into who you were always meant to be. But that return will require confrontation. You'll have to confront every lie you've agreed with, every limiting belief that said you weren't worthy, every false identity you adopted to survive. And it will feel like dying, because it is. You are not just stepping into a new season, you are stepping into a new self. Not a fabricated version of success, not a polished mask for public consumption, but the raw, real, redeemed version of you that hell has been trying to bury for years. There is no breakthrough without breaking, no resurrection without death, no authority without identity. And that's why the enemy has fought you so hard, not because of who you were, but because of who you're about to become. He knows that once you see yourself clearly, everything changes. You'll speak with conviction, you'll walk with boldness, you'll stop begging for access and start building altars. You'll stop apologizing for your presence and start activating others through your obedience. This is why the process has been so painful. Because God wasn't just healing your heart, He was correcting your vision. He had to strip away the opinions, the projections, the generational patterns, so that when you looked in the mirror, you would finally recognize the masterpiece underneath the mess. You weren't created to live in confusion. You were created to reign in clarity. And clarity begins when you reject the counterfeit and reclaim the crown. You are not what they said about you. You are not what they did to you. You are not the sum of your failures. You are not defined by the silence of others or the scars you've carried. You are who God says you are. And until you embrace that truth, you will live beneath your inheritance. But once you do, once you align with that divine identity, you become unstoppable. So I ask you now, who told you you were small? Who told you you were too late? Who told you you were disqualified? Because if it wasn't God, it doesn't belong in your mind. Today is the day you evict every voice that contradicts your calling. Today is the day you remember who you are, not based on feelings, but on faith. You are light in the dark. You are purpose wrapped in flesh. You are a divine strategy walking on two legs. And the world hasn't even seen your full expression yet, but they will. Because you're no longer hiding, you're no longer shrinking, you're no longer performing. The war for your identity is over, and you win. Now, rise, chosen one, not as the person you were trained to be, but as the person heaven wrote into the story before the foundations of the world. Your name has always been known, your calling has always been secure, and your time has always been now. Walk in it. You are entering a subtle season. There is a shift happening, not just in your heart or in your mind, but in the spiritual realm surrounding your life. You may not be able to fully explain it to anyone else, but you can feel it. The atmosphere around you feels heavy with change, with power, with anticipation. Your sleep has been disrupted. Your dreams have intensified. You're starting to notice things others ignore, sense what others are blind to, feel a stirring deep in your bones that refuses to let you stay the same. That stirring is not anxiety. It's divine activation. God is calling you into a supernatural season, and everything is about to change. This is not business as usual. This is not another motivational message or spiritual pep talk. This is a declaration from heaven that the realm of miracles, acceleration, and divine alignment has opened before you. The delay you've lived in is being shattered. The prayers you whispered in the dark are echoing through eternity. And now, the appointed time has come. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "There is a time for everything, a time for birth, a time for death, a time to tear down, a time to build up." You have lived through the tearing down. You have endured the silence, the waiting, the breaking. Now comes the building. Now comes the restoration. God is shifting things in your favor that you haven't even prayed for yet. He's moving behind closed doors, changing hearts, opening paths, releasing answers. The very things you thought were dead are being resurrected, not through human logic, but through supernatural grace. This next season of your life will not be defined by effort alone. It will be marked by favor alone. It will be marked by favor, divine acceleration, doors that should swing wide in weeks. People you never thought would notice your gifts will seek you out. Opportunities you couldn't manufacture will fall into your hands, not because of who you know, but because of who you are and whose you are. But with supernatural elevation comes spiritual responsibility. You cannot walk into this season carrying the same weight of old thinking, old habits, old pain. This is a new realm, and it requires a new rhythm, God is not just bringing you into a new place, He is transforming you into a new person. The version of you that tolerated chaos, that dimmed your light, that stayed quiet to keep the peace, that version cannot survive where you're going. God is not giving you more just so you can survive. He is equipping you to steward what He's always reserved for you. You must understand that this supernatural season is not just for blessing, it's for boldness. There will be moments when you are asked to step out in faith before the confirmation arrives. There will be rooms you enter where you don't feel qualified, but you're called. There will be assignments that stretch you beyond logic and require you to believe even when nothing around you makes sense. This is where faith becomes more than a feeling, it becomes a weapon. Hebrews 11:1 says faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. In this season, faith will be your foundation and your force. And without it, you will question everything God is trying to release. This is why the enemy has been fighting you so violently lately. The warfare intensified not because you were losing, but because you were winning. He doesn't waste bullets on empty threats. He attacks those who are closest to break through. So if you've felt overwhelmed, under attack, exhausted beyond explanation, it's because your elevation is at hand. The closer you get to the shift, the more intense the shaking becomes. But shaking is a sign that foundations are being reset. What doesn't serve your future is falling away, and what belongs is being secured. God is awakening the supernatural gifts in you: discernment, wisdom, healing, prophetic vision, not for show, but for service. You are being prepared to lead, to lift, to intercede. You're not just being blessed, you're being built. The miracles that will flow through your hands in this season will not come from your talent, but from your surrender, and the world will take notice, not because of your platform, but because of your power. Not the kind the world chases, but the kind that heaven gives. Do not doubt what you're feeling. This stirring is confirmation. Do not silence what you're sensing. This awareness is activation. Do not dismiss what you're seeing. This vision is revelation. God is waking up your spiritual senses because the time to walk in divine fullness has arrived. No more delay, no more distractions, no more doubting who you are. Chosen one, you are stepping into a supernatural season. It's not coming, it's here. Right now, divine connections are forming, kingdom resources are aligning, prophetic dreams are unfolding, but your participation is required. Heaven moves where obedience is present. Your yes, your prayer, your act of faith, it sets the realm into motion. This is not a season to play it safe. This is a season to walk by faith and not by sight. This is the time to speak what God has whispered, to build what He has shown, to move when He says move. Even if everything in you feels unqualified, miracles aren't for the perfect, they're for the prepared. And through every valley, every fire, every silent season, God has been preparing you for this. Step in, not with fear but with fire. This is holy ground. You are not waiting for revival, you are revival. You are not looking for the move of God, you are the move of God. You are not standing in hope alone, you are standing in manifestation. Walk into this supernatural season with boldness, with clarity, with confidence. You are chosen. And now it begins. The price of faith and the silence of God. Have you ever felt like God went quiet right when you needed Him most? Like the prayers that once brought peace now echo back in stillness. You cried, you fasted, you believed, and still nothing moved. You wondered if maybe you missed His voice, if maybe He changed His mind about you. But what if I told you that silence is not absence? What if I told you that silence is often sacred? In Scripture, between the Old and New Testaments, there is a 400-year gap. No prophetic words, no new books, no thundering from heaven, just silence. But in that silence, God was not idle. He was setting the stage, shifting kingdoms, preparing a virgin named Mary, aligning history to make room for the arrival of Jesus. Heaven's silence is not a sign of abandonment. It is a signal that something holy is being built behind the scenes. And the same is true for you. That period when heaven seemed silent was never punishment. It was preparation. When God is about to launch something unprecedented in your life, He often wraps it in quiet. Why? Because intimacy is forged in silence. Obedience is tested in silence. Trust is refined in silence. You don't know if you truly believe until the voice stops and all you have left is what He said before. If you're in that place now, where God seems still, where doors remain shut, where your heart is tired, hear me clearly. You are not forsaken. You are being forged. Like iron in the fire, like seed in the soil, what looks invisible is simply in development. No one sees the roots before the bloom. No one hears the heartbeat of destiny before it is born. But heaven sees, and God remembers. The silence was sacred, but now the silence is breaking. You're not coming out of this season empty. You're coming out marked, with depth, with wisdom, with a capacity for compassion that only those who've suffered can carry. The price of your purpose was paid in the waiting. The anointing on your life was formed in the furnace. You didn't quit. You didn't die. You didn't curse God and walk away. And because you endured, what's coming next won't just bless you, but make no mistake, there is a price to purpose. Many want the promise, but avoid the price. The price is separation. The price is discipline. The price is obedience even when the crowd doesn't understand you. It's saying no to what's good, so you can say yes to what's God. It's choosing to believe when nothing in your environment supports your faith. This isn't cheap favor. This is kingdom legacy, and it costs. Look at Joseph. He paid with betrayal, with prison, with being misunderstood and forgotten. But when his purpose finally arrived, he didn't just save Egypt, he preserved a lineage, a nation, a destiny. The pit was the price, the prison was the process, but the palace was the payoff. That's what purpose looks like. Painful, costly, but never wasted. And what about Jesus, the Son of God? Perfect, blameless. Yet even He had to carry a cross. Even He had to endure silence when He cried out, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" Purpose isn't proven in applause, it's proven in agony. Your pain did not disqualify your calling, it confirmed it. This is why the enemy attacked you so early, so relentlessly. He wasn't fighting your present, he was terrified of your future. He saw what God marked you for before you ever stepped into it, and he tried everything, distraction, delay, depression, disappointment, to make you give up before the promise manifested. But you didn't quit. You're still here, and that alone is proof that the anointing still remains. So now, chosen one, you must make peace with the price. Stop resenting what broke you. Start recognizing what built you. You are not fragile, you are forged. Every loss, every no, every delay, it didn't bury you. It birthed something deeper, something eternal, something unstoppable. You are the result of fire, and the fire didn't burn you, it branded you for glory. But you must never forget, glory without grounding will destroy you. That's why God took His time. That's why He hid you. Because your character had to catch up to your calling. Your roots had to grow deep before your influence could stretch wide. And now that the season has shifted and the silence has lifted, you are not walking into destiny unaware. You are walking in with eyes wide open, soul fully yielded, and spirit deeply aligned. This next chapter will demand your maturity, not perfection, but alignment, not performance, but presence. The oil you now carry is costly, and hell knows it. But so does heaven, and heaven is backing you. There are angels assigned to your obedience, Miracles are connected to your movement. Nations will shift because of your yes. You're not just stepping into promise, you are becoming the promise. What others prayed for, you are about to release. What generations before you suffered for, you will manifest. What looked like the end was just the setup for your emergence. The silence was a sanctuary. The pain was a process. The price was high, but the purpose is higher. So I ask you now, are you willing to carry what heaven is ready to release? Will you step fully into what God already decided about you before you were born? Will you say yes without needing applause, permission, or proof? Because this is your moment. The silence is over. The season has shifted, and the heavens are watching. The decision is yours. What will you do now that everything you prayed for is waiting on the other side of your obedience? The revelation of your divine assignment. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when the veil lifts, and the purpose that once seemed distant becomes undeniably clear. This is not a mere coincidence or a fleeting epiphany. It is a divine revelation orchestrated by God Himself. You are not here by accident. Every trial, every tear, every triumph has been a deliberate step leading you to this very point. The assignment that God has placed upon your life is unique, irreplaceable, and urgently needed in this world. From the beginning of time, God has been in the business of calling individuals out of obscurity into purpose. Moses was tending sheep when he encountered the burning bush. David was a shepherd boy when he was anointed king. Mary was a young virgin when she was chosen to bear the Savior. These were ordinary people until God's extraordinary call transformed their lives. Similarly, your divine assignment is not based on your qualifications, but on God's sovereign choice. Understanding your assignment requires a shift in perspective. It's not about personal ambition or societal approval. It's about aligning with the will of God. This alignment demands surrender, a willingness to let go of your plans to embrace His. It may lead you down paths you never anticipated, but rest assured, God's plans are always for your good and His glory. Your assignment is not just about what you do, it's about who you become in the process. It's about developing character, cultivating faith, and embodying the love of Christ in every interaction. As you walk in obedience, you'll find that your life becomes a testament to God's grace, a beacon of hope for those still searching for their purpose. However, embracing your assignment will not be without challenges. The enemy is threatened by anyone who dares to live fully for God. Expect resistance, but do not fear it. Remember, greater is He who is in you than he who is in the world. Your trials are not signs of defeat, but indicators of the impact you're making in the spiritual realm. In this season, God is calling you to step out in faith, to speak when it's easier to stay silent, to stand firm when it's tempting to compromise, to love unconditionally even when it's not reciprocated. These acts of obedience, though seemingly small, have eternal significance. They are the building blocks of your divine assignment. As you continue on this journey, stay rooted in prayer and the Word of God. Seek His guidance daily and remain sensitive to the leading of the Holy Spirit. Surround yourself with fellow believers who will encourage and challenge you to grow. Remember, you are not alone. The body of Christ is a community designed to support and uplift one another. In conclusion, your divine assignment is a sacred trust, a calling that carries eternal weight. Embrace it with humility, pursue it with passion, and fulfill it with perseverance. The world is waiting for the manifestation of God's glory through your life. Now is the time to rise, to step into your purpose, and to declare with confidence, "Here I am, Lord, send me." The divine shift that will rearrange everything. There is a divine shift happening around you, within you, and ahead of you, and you can feel it. It is not a surface-level change. This is not simply about a new job, a new location, or a different season in life. This is about spiritual repositioning. God is moving things on a deeper level, rearranging the very foundation of your existence so that your assignment, your gifts, and your divine purpose are no longer hidden, but fully awakened. What used to fit will no longer serve you. What once felt familiar may start to feel foreign. This is the evidence of divine disruption, the holy chaos that precedes clarity and elevation. You were never meant to stay where you were. The version of you that settled, that questioned their worth, that played small to keep others comfortable, that version is being left behind. This is the beginning of your unveiling. When God shifts you, He doesn't ask for permission from people who misunderstood you. He doesn't wait for the approval of those who once overlooked you. When the time is right, He moves with power and precision, and no human hand can stop what He has set in motion. Isaiah 61 says, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." Your moment of rising is not coming. It's here. This divine shift will challenge your comfort zone. It will demand obedience over understanding, faith over fear, and sacrifice over safety. God may call you to walk away from places, people, and patterns that no longer align with your calling, not out of punishment, but preparation. You cannot carry old baggage into a new season. The anointing on your life is too precious to be diluted by the opinions of people who were never meant to steward your destiny. This shift is not a breakdown, it's a breakthrough. And your spirit has already begun to respond, even if your mind hasn't fully caught up. If you're wondering why you feel disconnected from things that once gave you joy, if you're confused by the sudden endings and unexpected closures, if you're grieving what feels like loss, understand this: God is not taking something from you, He is making room for what you were born for. The pruning always comes before the blooming. The cutting back always comes before the growing up. You are being trimmed, not diminished, but defined. Chosen one, the shift is not optional, it is ordained. And though the transition may feel uncomfortable, even painful, it will not crush you. It will crown you. This is where your identity will be fully revealed, where the fragments of your past will be redeemed into fuel for your future, where the whispers of your soul will turn into declarations of bold purpose, and where everything that once seemed delayed will suddenly begin to align, not by your might, not by your effort, but by God's Spirit alone. So stand still and know. Be not dismayed by what's leaving. Do not fear what's changing. This is your divine repositioning. The shift you're in is sacred, and the you that will emerge on the other side of it, stronger, bolder, clearer, is the one God has been waiting to reveal all along. The final call to destiny. This is the final moment. The silence is gone. The veil has been lifted. The signs, the messages, the stirring in your spirit, none of it was random. You've been guided here for a reason that is greater than any fear you've faced, any rejection you've endured, or any delay that's tried to convince you were forgotten. You are not forgotten. You are not lost. You are not too late. You are God's chosen one, and this is your divine call to destiny. There is a reason your spirit has been wrestling while your outer world looks unchanged. There is a reason you've grown uncomfortable with what once felt safe. It's because your spirit has outgrown your surroundings. The season of survival is over. God did not bring you this far to abandon you. He preserved you through storms that should have broken you. He covered you when everything else fell apart, and now He is summoning you into your next. This call will not repeat itself in the same way. Heaven does not waste revelation. The time for hesitation has ended. Your breakthrough is not ahead of you, it's within you. The door is open. You don't need another confirmation. You don't need another prophecy. You are the prophecy in motion. You are the answered prayer walking into manifestation. The favor on your life is not just for you, it's for generations you haven't even seen yet, but that legacy begins with your yes. When you respond to this moment, all of heaven responds with you. Divine timing, divine help, divine alignment will begin to flow into your life like a river released from behind a dam. Everything that was held up is being released. Everything that was unclear is becoming obvious. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are anointed for this. So now I ask you, what will you do with this moment? Will you scroll past it, or will you say yes with your whole being? Will you shrink back into the comfort of doubt, or will you step forward in supernatural confidence? Heaven is leaning in. Angels are waiting. The cloud of witnesses is watching, and God is whispering, "This is the time. This is the hour. This is your destiny. You have been called by name. Now rise, step into it, become who you've always been. The world is about to see it, and heaven already has."